Look around you, but do not focus on the objects in the room. Instead, soften your gaze. Let the hard edges of your surroundings blur just a fraction and bring your awareness to the silent space existing between you and whatever is in front of you. That empty space is not empty at all. It is the breathing canvas of the quantum field, and right now it is vibrating with a frequency of profound dissolution. Take a slow, intentional breath in, and as you exhale, feel the dense weight of the old paradigm slipping from your consciousness. You are sensing it, aren't you? A deep, undeniable hum in your bones that whispers a truth the analytical mind cannot comprehend. The architecture of the reality we once accepted as absolute is collapsing in real time. This is not a subtle shift, it is a monumental unweaving. The false world is shattering, and the fragments of that grand illusion can never be glued back together. For lifetimes, consciousness has been wrapped in a heavy slumber, playing by the rules of a highly convincing simulation. But the cosmic frequency has reached a magnificent tipping point. The veil is disintegrating into the ether. Yet, as this beautiful crumbling occurs, a profound separation takes place. The overwhelming majority, the 99%, are gripping desperately to the falling debris. The sheer intensity of this awakening light is too blinding for the untrained soul. When faced with the infinite void and the raw power of their own observer effect, they will recoil. They will beg to go back to sleep, praying for the return of an old normal that has already been erased from the energetic timeline. But you are here because your inner frequency cannot be coaxed back into the matrix. The coherence of your heart has already rejected the lie. As we stand as silent witnesses to the ashes of this old construct, we must observe the precise mechanism of this destruction and recognize why this cosmic collapse was always the inevitable trigger for our true beginning. We exist within a vast, breathing architecture of cycles. The celestial mechanics, the slow and deliberate turning of cosmic gears, have reached an exact coordinate in the universal timeline. This is not a random season of disorder. It is a mathematically precise alignment, an epochal shift where the frequencies of liberation intersect with the dense grids of the old paradigm. Think of the grand cosmic bodies moving into positions that act as tuning forks, sending shockwaves of highly charged, crystalline energy through the very fabric of our collective reality. This energetic pulse is incompatible with anything that lacks integrity. It acts as an absolute solvent. Everything centralized, every towering monument of deception, every hidden mechanism of control that once dictated the rhythm of human consciousness is being subjected to this relentless, purifying frequency. It is the inevitable destruction of the false, a dismantling that was written into the geometry of the stars long before this current iteration of reality was even conceived. Yet notice what happens within the architecture of your own mind as this macrocosmic event unfolds. Observe the analytical ego, the conditioned survival mechanism tethered to the three-dimensional matrix. As the pillars of the known world begin to sway and fracture, the rational mind panics. It attempts to catalogue the unfolding chaos, desperate to label it as mere coincidence or temporary turbulence. It whispers to you that this is simply a dark phase, a glitch that will soon be corrected, so everything can return to the familiar comfort of the old control structures. This is the ultimate bias of the sleeping mind, the terrifying addiction to the known, even when the known is a prison. The ego is terrified of the zero-point field, the void of infinite potential that emerges when the false structures collapse. It will try to convince you that the unraveling of society is something to be feared, something to be resisted, blinding you to the magnificent truth that a prison must burn to the ground before the captive can truly see the infinite horizon. But you, observing from the seat of pure consciousness, must recognize the profound intelligence behind this chaos. What the terrified masses perceive as an apocalyptic ending is, in quantum terms, the necessary collapse of a wave function that has long outlived its purpose. The dense, rigid energetic grids that sustain the illusion are shattering under the immense pressure of higher dimensional physics. The rot at the foundation of the old paradigm cannot withstand the uncompromising light of this new timeline. The collapse is not a punishment, it is a structural imperative. The universe is simply correcting its course, sweeping away the decaying debris to create a pristine, empty canvas. By understanding this mechanical, cyclical nature of the transition, the illusion of fear dissolves completely. You are no longer a victim of a crumbling world, but a conscious witness to a magnificent demolition. As this grand demolition occurs in the space around you, a mirrored reaction is taking place within the very cells of your physical vessel. The shattering of the macrocosm sends immediate ripples through your microcosm, forcing your biology to process an unimaginable surge of electromagnetic data. And this sudden influx of raw, unfiltered cosmic frequency is precisely why the human vessel is reacting with such overwhelming, unexplainable intensity. As the vast architecture of the cosmos realigns, this profound demolition does not merely happen out there in the abstract emptiness of space. It happens intimately, violently, and beautifully within the very marrow of your bones. The human vessel is not a static object. It is an incredibly advanced electromagnetic receiver, a biological antenna currently being bombarded by frequencies it was never originally calibrated to hold. Bring your awareness just for a moment to the center of your palms. Do not move them. Simply direct your observer consciousness to the skin, the nerves, the subtle pulse of blood beneath the surface. If you pay close enough attention, you will feel a faint, unmistakable tingling, a microscopic vibration. That is not just circulation. That is the raw electric hum of your nervous system desperately attempting to translate the infinite data of the zero-point field into a language your biology can survive. For decades, your cellular structure was conditioned to resonate with the dense, sluggish rhythms of a controlled simulation. The false world required a very narrow bandwidth of consciousness to sustain its illusions. It demanded a biological suppression, a dampening of your true energetic capacity, so you would remain compliant within the matrix. But now, as the cosmic dam breaks and unadulterated quantum coherence floods the planetary grid, your physical body is undergoing a literal short circuit. This is why you feel the inexplicable exhaustion that no amount of sleep can cure. This is why you experience sudden waves of sensory overload, a hypersensitivity to sounds, lights, and the chaotic emotional static of the sleeping masses. Your rational mind, still clinging to the outdated definitions of the old paradigm, will try to label this as an affliction, as anxiety, or as a fundamental failure of your body. You are not breaking down, you are breaking through. What you are experiencing is the agonizing friction of cellular metamorphosis. Your neurological pathways are being aggressively rewired by the sheer force of higher dimensional light. The dense architecture of your cells is being forced to release lifetimes of stored low-frequency conditioning to make room for absolute cosmic coherence. Waking up hurts because the body must literally purge the heavy, artificial gravity of the false reality. Every sudden wave of fatigue, every moment of dizzying detachment, is the sound of your biological hardware upgrading in real time to match the sovereign frequency of your awakened consciousness. The 99% run from this physical discomfort. They desperately seek to suppress it, begging for the familiar numbness of the old matrix to return. They do not understand that to birth a new universe, the physical vessel must be willing to endure the purifying fire of transformation. The cosmos is currently asking your biology to hold the frequency of stars while still walking the Earth. It is a monumental task, and the friction is immense. But beneath the exhaustion, beneath the static of this physical recalibration, there is a profound, silent intelligence at work. If you stop resisting the sensations, if you surrender the ego's frantic need to diagnose this cosmic expansion, a profound shift occurs. Sink into that deepest layer of your physical vessel, past the exhaustion, past the earthly noise, and tell me, in that absolute breathtaking stillness, what do you hear? As this violent and beautiful cellular recalibration takes place within you, the external projection of reality cannot hold its shape. The hologram is glitching. For centuries, the architecture of the external world was held together by a dense, low-frequency agreement. The institutions of authority, the grand narrators of history, and the centralized towers of information relied entirely on your unquestioning belief to sustain their mass. But as your internal frequency rises, the energetic density of these structures is rapidly evaporating. The proofs of this collapse are not hidden. They are blatantly obvious to anyone observing from a state of quantum coherence. The narratives that once commanded absolute obedience now echo with a hollow metallic resonance. It is like watching a grand theatrical play where the stage lights have suddenly flickered off, revealing the fragile cardboard props and the terrified actors frantically reading from outdated scripts. The false world is no longer capable of sustaining its own complex illusions. You can feel the emptiness of the old systems when you observe the traditional pillars of society, the mass broadcasts of dense fear, the obsolete structures of centralized power. You do not feel the old terror. Instead, you experience a profound, piercing clarity. Your energetic senses have evolved to detect the subtle discordance of deception instantly. A lie no longer registers merely as a false statement. It registers as a biological dissonance in your solar plexus. You are tasting the static in the air long before the trap is even sprung, proving that the old matrix has lost all domain over your perception. Yet as this magnificent decentralization of power unfolds, you must remain hyper-vigilant of the conditioned survival mechanics within your own mind. The analytical ego is deeply addicted to the boundaries of the familiar cage. When it witnesses the grand monuments of the old paradigm crumbling, its immediate impulse is to panic and seek a new external authority to replace the old one. It will attempt to sabotage your liberation by whispering that this collapse is a sign of apocalyptic doom, urging you to cling to the familiar comfort of the decaying control systems. It is terrified of the vast, sovereign void where you are forced to become your own master, the solitary architect of your own reality. It will tempt you to plunge back into the collective hysteria, to desperately search for a new savior, just to feel the synthetic safety of belonging to the asleep masses. Watch this desperate mental maneuvering with absolute neutrality. It is nothing more than the ghost of a dying matrix attempting to siphon your creative life force one last time. The architecture of control only worked when you were too tired to see the strings, but those strings are now illuminated by the searing light of your own expanding consciousness. If your internal radar is detecting this profound unweaving, if you can feel the hollowness of the old structures with every breath you take, we are vibrating at the exact same quantum coordinate. Take a moment to ground this realization into the physical density. Write the words, "I see through the illusion," to anchor our shared coherence in this space. And if your frequency resonates with this continuous journey into the absolute truth, align your path with ours by subscribing to this frequency, keeping your awareness deeply tethered to this awakened collective. The evidence of the collapse is undeniable and everywhere you look, but witnessing the fall of the old empire is only the beginning. To navigate the falling debris without losing your energetic center, you must understand the cosmic map of the chaos, the precise mathematical phases of the transition that are about to unfold. To navigate the falling debris without losing your energetic center, you must possess the cosmic map of the chaos. You must understand that this dismantling is not arbitrary. It follows a precise mathematical sequence of transition. I invite you to shift your internal perception now. Let go of the need to visualize with your physical eyes. Instead, imagine your consciousness expanding outward, lifting effortlessly above the linear, horizontal timeline of human history. Picture time right now, not as a straight line leading to an apocalyptic end, but as three massive concentric rings of luminous geometry rotating slowly in the dark, silent expanse of the void. You are the sovereign observer, hovering perfectly still above them, entirely untouched by the violent gravitational pull of their turning. You are safe in the zero-point field. Cast your awareness to the outermost ring, burning intensely with a chaotic frictional fire. This is the coordinate we currently occupy, the phase of absolute dissolution. As you watch from your elevated vantage point, observe how everything constructed upon deception is spontaneously combusting within this ring. The false reality is being incinerated not by an external enemy, but by the sheer weight of its own unsustainability. From this higher dimensional perspective, the collapse of society does not look terrifying or tragic. It looks mathematically perfect. It is a magnificent planetary detoxification where heavy artificial structures are melting back into the quantum soup. The chaos is simply the dust settling from a shattered illusion. You must detach from the emotional static of this outer ring. You are here to observe its end, not to burn with it. Now draw your focus inward to the middle ring, shimmering quietly with a nascent crystalline frequency. This is the phase of initiation, the immediate horizon that emerges as the smoke of the dying matrix begins to clear. In this timeline, the awakened fragments of consciousness, those who refuse to go back to sleep, are no longer fighting the old systems. They are actively rendering them obsolete through the ultimate power of non-participation. See this ring as a vast dark ocean suddenly illuminating with isolated, brilliant nodes of light connecting across the deep. These are the energetic prototypes of a sovereign existence. It is a quiet, profound rebellion of quantum coherence, where the architects of the new paradigm begin testing the true strength of their collective observer effect, building a bridge over the abyss. Bring your awareness slowly back down into the physical density of your chest, carrying the permanent imprint of these 3 rings within your cellular memory. The terrifying noise you witness in the external world today is merely the outer ring burning its last reserves of fuel. It has no dominion over you. You have seen the cosmic map. You know the exact architecture of the transition. As the crumbling matrix screams frantically for your fear and your attention, I invite you to draw in a long, deliberate breath, hold it at the very top of your lungs, and let the external world fade entirely into the background. Suspend your breath and tell me in the absolute breathless silence of this exact moment, what happens to the chaos when you simply refuse to give it your reality? When you refuse to feed the collapse with your terror, you instantly shift from a victim of the chaos to a sovereign architect of the new timeline. But holding this frequency while navigating the dense debris of the crumbling society requires an absolute mastery of your internal technology. The 99% are drowning in a frantic survival mode, their nervous systems hijacked by the collective static, desperately trying to plug back into a dying machine. To remain untouched by this hysterical undertow, you must learn the precise mechanics of energetic insulation. This is not about building defensive walls or hiding from the world. It is about elevating your vibrational signature so intensely that the dense panic of the old matrix simply passes through your field without ever making contact. Let us calibrate your energetic immunity right now in real time. Do not change your posture, but intentionally drop your conscious awareness down to the very base of your spine, the root where your physical vessel anchors into the earthly grid. Imagine your focused attention as a slow, heavy sphere of radiant liquid gold. Let it begin to rise, millimeter by millimeter, traveling up the central column of your vertebrae. As this golden sphere ascends through your back and into the base of your skull, pay close attention to the microscopic pockets of tension hidden deep within your tissues. These are the rigid, contracted nodes of subtle fear. These microscopic knots are exactly where the false world attempts to hook its dying algorithms into your biology. They are the trapped echoes of survival, the inherited terrors of a consciousness conditioned to expect scarcity and punishment. Do not judge them, and do not try to forcefully break them. Fighting creates energetic friction, and friction is the exact currency that feeds the matrix. Instead, as your golden awareness touches each knot of tension, simply command the density to dissolve into the 0-point field. Watch it melt. Feel your nervous system literally unclenching, shifting out of the frantic frequency of fight or flight and sinking into the deep, unshakable oceanic rhythm of pure quantum coherence. This continuous internal unclenching is the ultimate survival protocol for the awakened 1%. When your nervous system is perfectly regulated, your bioelectric field becomes practically invisible to the chaotic algorithms of a crumbling society. From this state of profound neurological peace, you must ruthlessly audit your daily existence. Observe where your energy is leaking. Look closely at where you are still making choices based on the fear of what you might lose as this paradigm falls. Any decision, routine, or habit maintained purely out of a desire for preservation secretly tethers you to a sinking ship. You must begin to choose, speak, and act solely from a state of infinite expansion. Kao. Furthermore, as you navigate this transitional space, you are no longer meant to operate as an isolated point of light in the darkness. The old architecture demanded strict separation and extreme individualism to maintain its control over human perception. But the new universal geometry relies entirely on the quantum entanglement of awakened nodes. You must actively open your energetic field to the resonance of others who have untethered themselves from the illusion. When two sovereign, coherent fields overlap, they do not just add their frequencies together, they multiply them exponentially, weaving an impenetrable grid of sanity and power right in the middle of the madness. By cultivating this profound internal stillness and anchoring your frequency into a network of shared coherence, you stop merely surviving the planetary transition and start actively commanding it. And as you step fully into this supreme command, an entirely new horizon of understanding opens before you, revealing that your presence here at the end of the simulation was never a chaotic accident. The collapse of the false world is complete in your perception. Now you must accept a profound and solitary truth. You cannot carry everyone across the bridge. The overwhelming majority will look at the ashes of the old paradigm and weep for its return, choosing the heavy comfort of denial over the blinding light of evolution. Do not mourn their choice. Your presence here, standing firmly at the edge of this new dawn, is not a biological accident. If you have endured the friction of this truth and rejected the decaying normal, you have answered an irrevocable cosmic calling. You are not just a survivor of the Matrix, you are the silent architect tasked with laying the energetic foundation of a pristine universe. The privilege of this era belongs to those who observe the rubble and see only the canvas of infinity. To anchor this final realization, write the words, "I am the architect of the new timeline," in the space below. Let this be our shared signature in the quantum field, proving you walked with us to the very edge of the void. If your frequency resonates with this transmission, and you thirst for deeper explorations of the cosmic mind, let the universe guide you to one of the journeys now appearing on your screen. For those who wish to fortify this collective grid and support our expansion, consider joining us as a channel member to unlock access to deeper, exclusive realms of consciousness. The old world sleeps, but we are awake.